Hi, it's for Journey, and for people watching, yes, there is a difference. Can you notice? No, I can't. Anyway, I guess today is a rebuilding coach for women healing after heartbreak, betrayal, or the pain of being in a one-sided relationship. This does go with for men as well, but we're talking specifically in women terms, but we can relate to men in it when we discuss the topic. I guess that also helps women stop feeling lost, stuck, or second best and start feeling strong and clear and confident again. And I guess it's worked with hundreds of women who thought they'd never trust again, because I know for a fact women never really trust, especially when it comes to betrayal, deceitfulness, anything like that. And I know it can be a touchy subject, so there will be a disclaimer. There might be discussions that might trigger you, and if it does, we're only trying to educate you in the fact that it's to help be a better person for you. So some were left without answers. Others found out about, like I said, found out about lies, cheating or secret lives. And our guest walks with them through the hard parts, the confusion, the anger, the sadness, and help them rebuild piece by piece. I welcome Rachel to the journey.
Hi, thank you for having me. Yes, we noticed the red hair, and I'm sure you
Ah,
put.
I thought it was gone. No one can see. But anyway, yes, I've got highlights in my hair, and if you follow me on social media, you will see pictures on social media, and trust me, it is looking very red.
Absolutely. I've never added any color to my hair, so I didn't know it actually takes an investment of time. So you have done yourself a
Mm,
good job.
yeah, thank you. And yeah, let's just say I never normally do this either. I did it once when I was 18, and it came out like someone dumped an old gunk of orange paint on me because it came out orange. And this time it was just suggested that I should do highlights. And so I've done highlights. And because my hair's longer now, it looks more standing out than it normally does.
Good
But,
job. So yes, I am a rebuilding coach, rebuilding focusing on dating.
mm,
Sometimes it's harder to date when you've been brokenhearted. It's harder to
yeah,
trust again. And yes, men do have a lot of stuff they have to heal after they've gone through a heartbreak.
yeah.
I have no denial, no bias against that healing process. But
Mm.
I find that I am more an expert on women because I'm a woman too.
Which is understandable because, you do get men coaches who do inspire men to be more, and I'm saying this in the way the men will word it, more macho. But at the same time, it does affect men as much as women. And the fact is, women take it more because they are more sensitive, and men just like to brush it off and say, nah, not, push it away to say, no, I'm okay, I'm okay. They act that way. I've even been there myself. I've always said, I'll be okay. Deep
Mhm.
inside, you're not. And that goes for females as well, who don't show the emotion.
Yeah, which brings me to actually a great topic to talk about. I think it's because men are not taught how to express their emotions in a healthy way and just told to cover it up and
Mm.
just brush it off, that it might take a little bit longer. I'm not a man, so I don't know, but it might take a little bit longer for you to get off something if you just keep hoping that the longer I don't take a look under the hood, the better I feel.
But that is true and very relatable, and it is exactly that. Because, like I said, men like to push it under the carpet, under the bonnet of a car. They just like to think, if I don't think it, it go away.
Hmm.
And I'm not any expert in able to say that. I can give my opinion, and this is my opinion. It is an opinion that men do that a lot. I've seen it myself, in myself.
Mm,
And the problem is you can't because it just, you know how it is. If you leave something get dirty, it gets dirty, dirty, dirty. And in the end, it gets so dirty, it's like you can't even look at it.
absolutely. Sometimes it gets too much
Yeah.
because of the buildup. It gets, you know, it it's not a physical wound. It's
No.
not a physical abrasion. You can't see the stitches.
Mm.
You can't see exactly the physical manifestation of it sometimes. But sometimes looking back and looking under the hood is the hardest thing.
And like you be saying, and you will talk about it specifically because it is about females. Females who are tough do feel that way as well.
Yeah, so I've run into a lot of women that had to be tough in order to survive a situation, and they were never able to turn back. They put on
Yeah.
this persona to survive
Mm, very
something
true.
that happened in their life.
And the feeling is, and I know this as well, people who tend to get away from something or lose something, they try to get back what they lost. And that's a coping mechanism as well. But I always feel, and this is a very, I don't know if it's very true or not, but people who say if you go back to the situation, it's not the same as it was the first time because the same feelings you thought you had when you was there the first time, not there the second time.
Yeah, and no, I like to look at challenges in life as they just come so that you get stronger. Um, I was preparing a class, I think yesterday or yesterday or the day before, and I realized just how grateful I am that for my relationship, my past relationship that broke. Because now I'm aware of the things I don't want to happen. And now I can come up with a plan to make sure that they don't happen,
Mm.
right? And I had to learn how to pick better thoughts. And that doesn't happen naturally. That's not a normal
No.
thing. It's not normal to think, oh yeah, I'm so grateful he cheated. Oh, I'm so grateful he lied and he manipulated his way into my life. Yay! No, it doesn't happen like that. Um, rock bottom is I know it's a hard place to start, but it's one of the best places change happens. So I wasn't always happy-go-lucky. I wasn't always thinking the right thought at the right time, you
Mm.
know. I wasn't always encouraging myself and being careful what thoughts are running through my mind. Rock bottom was a real place for me.
Yeah. And it's a very scary place.
Ah, oh yeah. It's the fear that drives us to sometimes scary thoughts. The fear that we're going to stay in rock bottom for the rest of our life, and that's what's going to define us. But I had to learn that situations don't define me. It's the choices I make in situations that define who I am. It's my ability to bounce back. The expectation that healthy relationships don't have any conflict, that's unrealistic. And that Rachel that went through that was hoping for a smooth ride.
Yeah.
She wasn't, as in she was not ready. She didn't have her what do they call it? When firemen put on this fire suit to go in and, and fight the
Or
flames.
in the men's case, it's wearing their armor shining and trying to.
Exactly. So uh, even women have armor, right? But I wasn't ready
Mm.
to fight for me, live alone, fight for the relationship and fight for him. No, no, no. Let's not even get there. At rock bottom, it's fighting for you. And I wasn't ready. I wasn't even motivated.
Yeah.
I had to learn that it's okay that somebody didn't choose you. That doesn't mean you can't choose yourself. It's okay that somebody didn't love you the way you needed to be loved because that just shows you what's the important thing. I had to be my first teacher, I had to be my first coach, and I had to be my first friend in that moment. And it takes time. And the rebuilding phase and the healing phase is not a straight line. Because sometimes you think your day is going so good.
Mm.
And then one thing, that's a trigger. Maybe you have to pull over and breathe.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have to take a moment. Yeah.
And then the feeling is when you are in that, in that situation, you often feel alone.
It is
And
very lonely.
and if you're in a workplace that involves people around you, you feel like they are, I'm not saying they are not there for you because they are in the same room, for example, but you feel very isolated.
Yeah, it is a lonely place. The healing journey sometimes can be lonely because sometimes we hope that people are going to see life the way we are seeing it or going through the same thing that we're going through. But it's not
Yeah,
true.
true. And the fact is, if they try and look at it, they can't exactly relate to you because how can they know what you're thinking? They're not a mind reader to go in your mind and say, I mean,
Absolutely.
Rachel said, I mean, David said, you know, it's just a conflict of, you want to reach out to people, but then you feel like you're a burden if you do reach out to those people.
Because you don't want to be an energy vampire to your friends
Yeah.
because then they'll start avoiding you. It's all those thoughts that come, especially when we're at rock bottom. When you are recovering from the pain of maybe being in a one-sided relationship where you overly committed to somebody who wasn't sharing the same commitment
Mm.
amount. It's just, there's a lot of shame.
You give 110% and when you get 40% back from the other person, that doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up, but also you're like, how could I not see this? How could I have been so stupid? You know?
Do you feel like it was a case of being blindsided a lot?
I think it was a case of misplaced hope.
Mm. Because, I know it, I won't say names, but I know examples of people who like to think people will change and they stay with that person because they want
Ooh,
them to change. But they don't,
ooh,
that's the ultimate mistake because that
mm,
person won't change. No
hmm.
matter how much you sit there and be patient and say, I've made my mistakes or whatever, I stay with you. No.
Yeah, because
Narcissistic behavior, for example, and this is a big, big example. You got a narcissistic partner. You're there because you're a trophy to that person who's been,
absolutely.
and the fact is, and like I said, these are trigger warnings, so be aware of this. And I'm not trying to trigger anyone, but how can you love someone who's that way towards you by treating you like you're a bit on my arm?
And it happens because it's a manifestation of or maybe a relationship we're playing back in our lives. We're trying to go back in time and use the situation to fix that relationship. I've seen so many women who become Betty the Builder because I
Mm,
need to build a man into what I need him to be. Because at some point, I didn't have the ability to build someone. I didn't have the ability to support someone. Or maybe at some point, that's the only thing I was good for. And that's the only way I know I'm valuable. When we are battling such personal things like uh, manipulative partners or inconsistency, what it purely is an expression of a wound that's not healed within us.
yeah.
We're trying to heal our relationship in the past with an inconsistent person, with a relationship in the future with an inconsistent person. Oh
And
no, it's because only married women are talking to you, only married men are approaching me. No, all men are approaching you, but you are paying attention. You are sitting down with, you are, entertaining these men that are married.
mm,
And something within you finds that relationship exciting, you know.
then that that individual who you're with, either if you're man or women, they mold you to be what they want you to be.
Hmm.
And that's the damaging thing as well, I believe, because when they mold you in such a way, people outside see it, but they can't say anything because you're molded in such a way. You're very sensitive to people's comments because you're interfering when they're not interfering.
They're just telling you what they see.
Yeah. So it's just, like I said, I'm not trying to say names, but I just know people and I know that they've been through a lot. The
But
fact,
it's scary because I also work with women that are working to get out of toxic relationships. And sometimes it can be so scary to leave that relationship because sometimes you believe it's all you know, it's all what you have, and you can't see anything out of it.
yeah,
So the
I-
fear is then driving again, back to the fear. So the fear is then driving, or it's somebody keeps repeating to you that nobody's ever going to love you, or
mm,
nobody's ever going to take to have a relationship with a woman with children. And on this end, I'm coaching women who are practically struggling because they had a relationship, they had children and a husband, but
mm,
somebody was willing to take their children away from their husband. So when when somebody's being manipulative, and I remember the last guy I dated, he said it's harder for successful women
yeah,
to meet men. But ever since I started working, like I am meeting a lot of men. So was that really true? Or was that a manifestation of what he was dealing with? So,
and that's a very open question that could be asked. Is it manifestation or not?
and just the wisdom to know the difference, right?
Yeah, and then it's about understanding that difference. So,
Yeah. So it's again, I know for a fact that behavior is the only language you need to listen to in relationships. And I had to learn this the hard way. If he's not calling, he probably doesn't like you. If he's lying, he doesn't like you. He doesn't love you. If like somebody's behavior should be the only language that you listen to in a relationship.
yeah,
Because there've been times when women we're such good hearers of love. We just want to hear we're beautiful and but
the,
really that
the,
doesn't
the validation.
mhm, mhm. But really that doesn't actually make us trust anymore because anybody can say anything. Now we're like, how do we weed past all the noise? How do we cut through the noise and get connections that are actually going to stand the test of time? And the answer is behavior. Behavior is the only language. Consistency. I remember working with somebody and she told me that her previous relationships, her partners didn't think monogamy was a thing. So a man cannot be faithful to a woman. No, that's not a thing. So then um I just I told her to go to an event, and at this event it was like a healing experience by one of the other coaches, but it was led by men. She seated in this room, David, and she's hearing men healing, and she's like, "What is happening?
Yeah,
Like, what is going on? Why do these men want their wives to have a better husband? What is going on?" And I said, "Well, sometimes it's hard to read the label from inside the jar. We're so far into our world. We can't see what's happening. Like, as you said, you try to tell somebody, oh, you're changing. They're like, no.
it's just, you know, and how I see it, you heal better if you're with your own sex. If you're interacting with your own. sex. So if you're a man, you're interacting with a man, you heal better. You can't heal if a female comes in and you're trying to cope with a lot, grief of a female in your life. You got to have someone you can relate to, I believe.
I
Like
think,
like
yes,
fe- like females relate more to females. You can't just get a female going in when they've had a rough relationship and say ill, and there's a man trying to heal you because you're going to put the blockers up.
yeah, but so it doesn't have to necessarily work with every female to every female. It has
Mm.
to be somebody who, again, who gets what you're going through.
Yeah, so neutral.
Somebody neutral and somebody who's neutral, yeah, not attached to this. Because sometimes family, they try to help.
uh,
They're doing the best they can, but it does not come off as help.
Because you know for a fact if you go to a family member, they're going to be more biased either. If you go to, for example, your mother-in-law is going to be more leaning towards their, son. If you go to your, mother, you're going to be having the support of your own mother. So you've got to find someone, like you said, unattached, who's neutral, who doesn't know the situation.
hmm So there's there was a family I worked with a couple of years ago, maybe 8 years ago. I was working in a social worker aspect, and um, we go into this home to talk to the woman because her son's having suicidal tendencies, and um, you can see she's burnt out,
Mm.
right? So this is what the dad is saying. The dad's like, you know what? Death is so normal. Like we should be okay with it. If he wants to go, and she's like, that's why my family can't stand him. They can't be around him. We forget that people have their own way of dealing with what's going on. And we extend so much grace to people outside of us
Yeah.
instead of ourselves, right? And sometimes extending grace to yourself could look like having that hard conversation with yourself and saying, maybe this is not the best partner to walk through this hard time with. And maybe grace could look like it's okay to fall down a few more times and then get up. What does grace look like to you? That's the question, right? Because what are the things that you're saying to yourself that don't come out of love? When we go through whatever rock bottom looks like for you, whatever you're struggling with, whatever that voice is telling you.
My side is usually a very dark element that I hear echoes a lot, and the echoes, because they clashing with one another, it doesn't make sense.
Mhm, mhm, I always tell my clients there's a voice of truth and an emotional terrorist. The
Mm.
emotional terrorist is just hurt
Yeah,
and they're yelling and they're screaming because they just don't want you to hurt them anymore. It's that angry child that can't seem to get along with anybody on the playground, doesn't seem like you can get through to them. And sometimes just spotting that red flag and saying, oh, yeah, that's just that voice is enough. Another time, actually doing actions to show consistency to that person,
mm.
to that version of you, because they're just angry because they've lost confidence in the fact that, oh, will she be able to take care of us? I remember that was that was my roller coaster for some time, right? I would have high days and low days, high days and low days, high days and low days. I couldn't figure out, um, and I wish life stopped. No, but we still have to be productive, but we still have deadlines during this whole time.
Mm,
So just, I had to be my first teacher when it came to emotional intelligence. I had to learn that I can regulate how I feel.
mm,
I can. This last week, I didn't go to the gym because I had just too many deadlines and too many things to do and too many um, submissions and projects to work on. But usually, when I don't go to the gym, David, like those are my worst days because the emotional terrorist crawls out from whatever hole like I
mm,
have a whole picture in my head. She crawls out from whatever hole. And she was just reminding me of all the promises I haven't made to myself. But this week, I realized I'm starting to heal because the amount of grace I extended myself, get through my assignments and still be able to take a break and, and focus on me. I realized that healing is not linear.
yeah.
It's not predictable. It's not overnight.
And that's the key thing that people do forget. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in 10 seconds. It doesn't happen in 20 minutes, whatever you want to describe it as. It takes time. And that's the key word, time.
Hmm.
And, like I said, I know for myself, and I will relate to myself in this. I know what I'm going through, and I'm taking time for that. Yes, I'm happier now than I have ever been, but I'm still taking time for myself to actually understand. Yes, I don't talk about it openly, which I should do more often. And I, open heartedly would say, anyone who's going through that, yeah, if you can talk about it, talk about it. But if you can't, don't bottle it up. Just try and release it sometime.
And sometimes there's no one to talk to, David.
Exactly. But what can you do then?
Exactly. That's when you find the release. I found it in the gym. I found it in yoga. Yoga has given me so much peace. I used to run. That didn't work. I was still agitated after a run.
Mm,
And when I started yoga, I sleep better. I mentally I'm at peace, right? And I don't know, whatever works for you. For some people, I have a client, David. Like it shocks me so much when I talk about her. But service, like going out to these women's shelters and doing the free food nights and cooking and service is the way she's healing. It blows my mind because it's supposed to be the new haircut, right?
mhm,
That fixes everything.
yeah.
No, it's not. So it's just again giving yourself grace to find that outlet. It might not be just working out. It's yoga for me, but for her, it's those soup kitchens, and she signed up to be in a dog shelter, and like it blows my mind. And she's like, "Oh my God, I feel so." Whatever it is for you, some people make mead because mead takes a while.
Yeah.
Some people start knitting. Some people get a dog. Like whatever it is for you, healing is not linear.
And that's what we also got to remember. Keep thinking it's not linear, but it's about remembering that.
Hmm. The expectations as well, setting the right expectations with yourself, communicating with yourself. I remember getting up today and I had this thought, right?
Mm.
I haven't done enough. I'm still grateful to be here. Of course, I'll never do enough, but what am I doing in this moment that's, you know, how am I showing up 100% today? So I watched this older couple. They make videos of about life and forgiveness, and they're so much older, so much wiser. And I felt so much better because we're in such a rush. Oh, it's too late for me to fall in love again. I'm 40. It's too late to meet somebody again. I'm 25. It's too late to go back to school and get that GED. I'm not, we put on these deadlines, but watching this older couple just living life and walking around in their little farm and sitting down in the sunset and giving so much valuable knowledge on life.
Hmm.
It reminded me that that's where I want to head. I want to enjoy life. I want to live like I enjoy life. When we're in our healing process, let's try not to rush it, but find aspects of it that we want to fall in love with and we want to enjoy because you want it to be sticky enough that the habits stick so that when you're after that, you don't just go back to the same person
Yeah.
that you were.
And when you hear stories of that sort of example, when you see things like a older generation couple, like when my grandparents were alive, yeah, I spent first 4 years of my life with them, and I saw how they were. They were the couple that you could say was a good example because they were full of life. They did everything. But I just feel like, and this is how I compare it, you go to the generation of today, and I'm not trying to condemn the generation of today, but it's like, oh, I have had an argument. Let's post it on social media. Why? Why do you want the world to see, oh, I'm having this issue with my partner? Now, you
It's
see
like
the,
if people
you,
see they
you,
can be on my side.
but
It's the ego.
But the fact is, and I'm not saying this in the harshest way possible, but why? Because at the end of the day, it's pointless. If you want to express something, you don't go on social media, you go and talk to someone in
Go
person.
and talk to the person. Exactly. Why are you telling everybody else that
Because
you're
I put,
sorry
because,
for hurting this person instead of actually going up to them and saying, David, I am really sorry for what I said.
yeah,
And I know I hurt you. How can we fix it?
mm,
Instead of telling everybody else.
it's just, and then like I said, you've got the older generation who do sit down together and you see them sitting in comfy chairs and they sit and talk. That's how it
Mhm.
should be. You see the difference? It's just, you know. My nan never had social media until the later part of life, and that's only because I influenced her to get it because I wanted her to be part of it. She had it after my grandfather passed away. It was a way of me just making sure she's okay, even though she didn't have major technology know-how. And she's like, why do people put this on social? She didn't call it social media. She called it Book of Face or whatever that was that she called it. But it was cute. But she saw certain people that was added on her social media who was families. Like, why are they going on social media? Here to talk about it. Like, that's what they do. And she's like, why don't they talk to their mum or what? I think it was their mum because I think it was someone in the family, but it was. The fact was, why aren't they talking about it to someone close to them instead of putting it on here? I said, they do that. And that was back in 2007, 2008, when social media was not, I'm not saying it was popular, but it wasn't as big as it is now, because you know how big it is now. You go on Facebook, you go on TikTok, you go on Snapchat, you go everywhere. Like earlier today, I was looking on social media, and even though it's a review page and they talk about recipes, it's like they were going on about talking about, I'm not with this person. People are like, why are you coming on here to talk about it? You're just attention seeking. Why don't you talk to the person that you haven't agreed with in person?
It's I think actually a few days ago, I was listening to something and I was talking about how healing isn't always about outward expression. but you being okay
Mm.
with what's going on more than you being okay with what the world thinks is going on. It's okay that I'm not with that person.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ask like 10, maybe 2 years later, weren't you posting anything from it, from you two together? Oh, we broke up 2 years ago. Oh, you didn't say anything. Didn't have to.
Yeah.
Moved on. We get so lost in the need to be seen that we forget that we're not even seeing ourselves.
Yeah.
Have you ever
I,
just thought to yourself, how lonely was I to be able to seek out that conversation with billions of strangers
mm.
than to actually have a friend to call or to have virtual coffee or coffee with somebody to talk about it?
Yeah. And just what you're doing as an individual for yourself, it's helping you because you're helping others.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key I've seen since I've spoken to you. Your key of helping others is the key to helping yourself. And I love how that is because not many people are out there to do that. They just there for, I'm not saying you do it, personal gain. You're doing it to help yourself, but at the same time, you're not holding a badge to say, I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing it for you.
Yeah,
And,
because
and
sometimes communication is uncomfortable, but guess what, David? We do it for the people we love.
yeah,
Sometimes it's hard to walk into that room and ask, are you actually okay? But guess what? Because I like that person or I love that person more than I want to save myself, I'm willing to put myself first. I'm going to lower my guard and go ahead and put, establish trust by going first. I notice that you're struggling with something. Do you want to talk about it?
mm,
Do you want to come up with a plan? Right? Let's just be clear, David. I'm not here because I think that you're not able to handle this on your own. I just want to stand with you as a friend.
mm,
We need to have more of those conversations. There's a reason I'm not on like active on social media right now. I decided to have more in-person conversations, and man, oh man, is it more fulfilling than online. Like I go to the gym and there's so many amazing women who I've met, and they look so good. They don't look like their story. Sometimes they share the stories with me, and I'm like, damn, she doesn't look like that. I made the assumption that everything in her life is perfect, and it's not.
mm,
So those having more in-person connections, and I know for some people this is not um, possible, maybe because of time zone or language differences or stuff like that. But strive to make that connection, strive to reach out
yeah,
to make that connection because it reteaches you what vulnerability looks like. And of course, we're going to get brokenhearted a few times. Don't expect it to be a walk in the park. Relearning trust is one of the most difficult things that I've had to go through. And I still go through every day. But breaking it was, but fixing it, putting it
mm,
back together is something you need to consciously teach yourself. You're like, okay, I'm going to make a connection. I'm going to have lunch with somebody. I'm going to, you know, go for this girls' night. Go to this Pilates class. I'm going to meet a new teacher. I'm going to join a new class.
yeah.
No.
And, I think I touched upon this, pre-interview when we was discussing things. You often wear a mental mask,
Mm,
and the mental mask, that's not the answer. Yes, it may hide you for temporary, but people who know you will know you're wearing one, and it's not fun to wear one. And I
yeah.
just believe if you cannot wear that mental mask and just be you, That's ultimately what will make you a stronger person.
And if you're being you and somebody doesn't like it, screw them.
Exactly.
I I have to talk about this with women. It's supposed to be common sense, but values, sometimes values are not a match. You're attracted to a guy, maybe he doesn't believe in maybe you're a volunteer, maybe your ethics are different,
Mm.
or maybe your communication styles are different. You want to talk through things and he wants to guilt trip, manipulate. It's okay. Go away.
I agree.
But the fear of missing out, the fear of missing out, my God, it drives us nuts.
The
It
FOMO,
keeps us
the, f- the,
chained.
f- the FOMO effect, as I call it.
Mhm.
FOMO meaning if no one knows, fear of missing out.
And it just drives us nuts.
It does. So obviously we get into the end of our conversation. People be asking, can we get in touch with Rachel? Can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So I do have a YouTube channel because I'm a big believer of you connecting with how some people find the way I teach a little bit too, maybe too emotional or maybe too connection
Mm.
oriented. They're looking for maybe a punch kind of basis and somebody who's just going to say, sit through the pain. So I want you to visit the YouTube channel and watch at least a video or two. And then there's obviously a link to book a free consultation. You can do that and fill out the form, and we can talk for a little bit.
And I'll make sure the links are in the description afterwards.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David.
No eyes. And the last ultimate question, you want to say something to help them on their journey to help them progress.
Hmm.
What would you say to them?
The ability for us to extend grace to ourselves manifests itself in the way we talk to ourselves and what we refuse to give ourselves. Some people actually have stepped away from love. They've just decided to be alone. But if you're willing to give yourself the grace enough to try again, there are always people on the other side to help you walk through that journey. There's no expectation of perfection. There's no expectation that you'll meet the one on the first try,
Mm.
but just the willingness to commit to the change and to, you know, just admit, I don't want to be lonely. I don't want to be scared. I don't want to be filled with anxiety, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the other person to break my trust. There is a bridge to get to where you need to go. Might not be me, might be somebody else, but just don't give up on yourself.
I agree with that. And on that, Rachel, I'd like to say thank you for sharing your journey with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks, David.
So I'm going to answer it like this.
I would tell you that you are so incredibly loved.
It was a joy to work with him. What we came up with was too exciting for words.
I get discouraged because people are so antithetical to goodness.
Things. So I do have like a nerdy scientist side to me.
Hello, everyone!
Because I just said, nope, not going to be this person anymore.
Even into your adulthood, and that's the message that I want to spread, that not everybody's going to judge you based on your appearance or the struggles that you go through. Everybody in the world connects in some way.
Well, I never fully overcame it. I learned to dance with it. I had really significant levels of fear
they haven't learned that craft of being personable enough.
Our thanks to our guest there for a wonderful journey. And now a couple of messages to share with you.
Hello, I am Ammie Harrison. I'm the author of the book Feline Warrior Part 1 and Part 2, a fictional story that is written in a poetic format that is based on real-life events that could happen to anyone and intended only for relatable purposes. This story claws into Catgirl's past abuse. Catgirl is human and part feline, but truly a warrior who can handle anything because she is strong and fierce. She has been taken advantage of for far too long. Join her on her journey as she reaches freedom. Here are some poems from Feline Warrior. Tears flow. I no longer know what to do. I am no longer who I once was, and it is because I made a choice to use my voice, and that is okay, because what I had to say was true, unlike me and you. Now I see. I am free. I am me. I am Catgirl. Ultimately, be you. Always stay true. Do what you want to do, because every day is made new. If you want to read more, visit the link in the description. Meow at you later.
Music by Erica R. from Pixar Bay.
By Tim Parsons. The narrator is Kate Barton. Director and producer, Darren Street. Tim Parsons would like to thank family and friends for their support with the paramedic Chris venture. The series is dedicated to the memory of his father, Reverend David Parsons. Copyright Tim Parsons 2020, all rights reserved. Unauthorized use, copying or sharing of this audiobook is strictly prohibited. This has been a Voice Reel studio production for Tim Parsons.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. I've just been listening to the Paramedic Chris children's books on audio again, and I just love it because they've given a tribute in one of them to my dad as well, who passed away a few years ago. I love audio books, and it's great to walk around, and it's great to sit at the computer, if you're out jogging or wherever, to listen to them as well. All 4 of the Paramedic Chris children's books are available on audio book from Amazon. Go and take a listen to them. You won't be disappointed. You'll hear what happens when a community pulls together and supports one another. The best thing is to pop over to my website, paramedicchriskidsbooks.org, and you'll see the links on the shop page. Keep safe, everyone, and thank you for being you.
The Journey podcast explores stories of personal growth, challenges, and life-changing moments. Each episode dives into unique experiences, offering insights and inspiration for listeners navigating their own paths. I believe everyone has a story worth sharing. If you'd like to share your journey with David and others, email your story to wisewords1983@reborn.com, and it may be featured in a future episode.